Picture a single image. A boy, 12 years old, stands barefoot on a strip of concrete behind a converted garage in Oakland, California. His feet are shoulder-width apart. His hands are raised in a guard position. Not a perfect guard. Not yet. But a genuine one, shaped by 6 weeks of daily repetition. His name is David Chin. He weighs 84 pounds. He has been blind since the age of 4. Across from him, at a distance of exactly 5 feet, stands a 26-year-old man in a gray t-shirt and black training trousers. The man is not touching the boy. He is not speaking. He has not moved in 11 seconds. And then the boy throws a punch. Not a wild swing. Not the flailing approximation of someone guessing at a movement they cannot see. A straight, compact, correctly chambered lead hand strike that travels along the center line and arrives at a focus mid-held by the man at precisely the height and angle the man described to him 20 minutes earlier. The man does not say anything for a long moment. Then he lowers the mitt and says, quietly, to the 2 people watching from the doorway, "He found it." That's not technique. That's understanding. This is that story. The date is September 9th, 1966. The city is Oakland, California. The specific location is the back training area of the Jun Fan Gung Fu Institute at 4157 Broadway, a narrow, high-ceilinged space that Bruce Lee has been using as his primary Oakland training ground since 1964. It is a Friday afternoon, 3:17 p.m. Outside, the East Bay September heat sits at 89 degrees Fahrenheit, pressing down on the concrete with the flat, specific weight of a California summer refusing to end. Inside the training area, the air smells of sawdust, canvas, and the faint chemical bite of the liniment oil Bruce applies to his forearms after heavy makiwara work. To understand what happens this afternoon, you first need to understand the world into which David Chin was born. David was born in 1954 in Oakland to a family of Cantonese immigrants who had settled in the Chinatown district 2 generations earlier. His father, Henry Chin, worked as a line cook at a restaurant on Webster Street. His mother, Pearl, took in alterations and ran a small sewing operation from their apartment on 7th Street. By every measure available to the Chin family in 1954, life was narrow, hard, and governed by a specific kind of hope that immigrant families carry. The hope that is not optimistic exactly, but is stubborn, enduring, pointed toward the next generation. At age 4, David contracted bacterial meningitis. He survived. His sight did not. By 1966, David Chin is 12 years old and has spent 8 years navigating Oakland as a blind child in a decade that had not yet developed language for disability, let alone infrastructure. He attends the California School for the Blind in Berkeley, commuting by bus 3 days a week. He is, by every teacher account that survives, intellectually extraordinary, a boy who processes spatial information through sound, air pressure, and vibration with a precision that his teachers describe as unsettling in the best possible way. He memorizes entire bus routes by the sound of the engine. He navigates the Chinatown blocks near his home without a cane, reading the neighborhood by the specific echoes of his footsteps off different building surfaces. He is also, in September of 1966, being bullied regularly, specifically by a group of 3 boys, ages 13, 14, and 15, who have determined that a blind boy walking alone between the bus stop and his apartment building is a reliable target. The incidents are not severe in the way that would compel police involvement in 1966 Oakland. They are severe in every other way. David's father, Henry, knows Bruce Lee by reputation. In the Cantonese community of Oakland's Chinatown, Bruce's name circulates through the barbershops and the restaurant kitchens and the corner groceries. A young man from Hong Kong who teaches the old fighting arts, who has already made a name for himself in Seattle, who some say has no equal among the young fighters of the West Coast. Henry Chin is not a man who asks for things easily. In September of 1966, he asks for one thing. He writes Bruce Lee a letter. 3 paragraphs. The 3rd paragraph says, "I am not asking you to fight my son's battles. I am asking if you will teach him not to be afraid of the space around him." Bruce reads the letter twice. Then he calls James Lee, his training partner, and says, "I need you to help me think about this." But here's where it changes. Bruce Lee meets David Chin for the first time on a Wednesday, September 7th, 1966, 2 days before the session that will define everything. The meeting is not a training session. It is, as Bruce describes it to James Lee afterward, a listening session. He picks David up from the bus stop at the corner of Broadway and 41st Street at 2:45 p.m. David is carrying a canvas school bag and using a white cane and wearing a blue jacket despite the heat, because his mother has told him the training facility might be air-conditioned. It is not. Bruce does not take David's arm. He walks beside him at David's pace and says, "Tell me what you hear right now." David lists, without hesitation. The BART construction 2 blocks south. A dog barking from an apartment above a laundry. The specific echo signature of the Broadway corridor compared to the cross streets. The vibration of a truck passing that he identifies as a delivery vehicle from the pitch of the engine. He delivers this inventory with the flat, focused precision of someone reading a list, not performing, not seeking approval, simply reporting what is there. Bruce says nothing for 6 seconds. Then he says, "Good. You already know how to listen. That's the hardest part." They spend 45 minutes in the training area. Bruce does not demonstrate any technique. He does not explain any principle. He asks David to walk the perimeter of the room and tell him what he notices. He asks him to stand still for 2 minutes and describe the air moving through the space. He asks him, and this is the detail that James Lee, standing in the doorway, will remember for the rest of his life, to point, with his eyes closed, to where Bruce is standing at any given moment during a period when Bruce is moving silently around the room. David points correctly 11 times in a row. On the 12th attempt, he points 2 feet to the left. Bruce says quietly, "I held my breath for that one." David says, "I know. That's why I missed." James Lee, from the doorway, says nothing. His expression is the expression of someone watching something they cannot categorize. That evening, Bruce calls his wife Linda and says, he doesn't need to learn how to see. He needs to learn to trust what he already does. 2 days later, the real work begins. On Friday, September 9th, Bruce does something that no one who knows him expects. He invites 3 people to watch. This is not typical. Bruce Lee's private training sessions are private, genuinely, structurally private. Not in the performative way of a man protecting mystique, but in the working way of a man who believes that observation changes the thing being observed, and that David, in particular, deserves the dignity of learning without an audience weighing his every attempt. But he invites James Lee, his student Ted Wong, and a woman named Dr. Patricia Yuen, a researcher at UC Berkeley who works with children experiencing sensory disabilities, whom Bruce has spoken with by phone twice in the preceding 48 hours, asking questions that she later describes as the most technically precise questions about spatial perception I have ever received from someone outside my field. The 3 of them are told, observe only. No commentary during the session. No praise, no encouragement, no reaction that David can read through sound. Bruce explains this to them with the specific seriousness he brings to anything he considers important. His calibration system is your voice. If you respond to what he does, you become noise in his instrument. I need the instrument clean. Dr. Yuen will write, in a 1989 retrospective essay, I have worked with 43 children with visual impairment over my career. I have watched some of the finest specialists in the country work with them. I have never seen another person, before or since, demonstrate that level of instinctive pedagogical precision on a first substantive teaching session. He had understood, in 48 hours of thinking, something that takes most people in my field years of study to reach. David arrives at 3 p.m. He is wearing the same blue jacket. He removes his shoes at the door because he has noticed, on the Wednesday visit, that the concrete of the training area has a different thermal signature than the wooden floor near the entrance, and he uses that distinction to orient himself. He does not mention this. He simply removes his shoes. Bruce watches him do it. He does not comment. The challenge, the real challenge, is not physical. It never is in this story. The challenge is conceptual, and Bruce has spent 2 days working out how to present it. He says to David, Gung Fu is not about what you can see. Gung Fu is about what is already there before you look. I am going to teach you to feel the shape of the space between you and the thing coming at you. When you know that shape, you already know what to do. Your eyes would only slow you down. David is quiet. Then he says, "Is that true for people who can see?" Bruce pauses for exactly 2 seconds. Then he says, "Mostly they don't know it yet." What happened next, nobody expected. The first 40 minutes are not dramatic. They are the opposite of dramatic. They are the patient, methodical work of a teacher who has abandoned every conventional assumption about how martial arts instruction operates. Bruce does not begin with stances or strikes. He begins with sound. He stands 7 feet from David and claps his hands once. He asks David to point to the exact location of the sound's origin. David points correctly. Bruce moves and claps again from a different position. Again correct. This continues for 8 minutes. Bruce moving silently to new positions, clapping once, David pointing. In 23 of 25 attempts, David is accurate to within 4 inches of Bruce's actual hand position. In the first real instruction sequence, Bruce introduces the Chiso, the listening hand of Wing Chun, the principle of maintaining continuous contact with an opponent's arm to read intention through nerve and muscle rather than sight. He explains it not with the standard vocabulary of martial arts pedagogy, but with the vocabulary of what David already does. You already use this when you walk. You feel the air before the wall. This is the same. You feel the intention before the movement. He places David's right forearm against his own, not gripping, resting, with the light, receptive contact of the Wing Chun sensitivity exercise known as Chi Saw. He moves his arm in slow, varied patterns. He asks David to follow, not to resist, not to counter, simply to follow. In the second second of this exercise, David does something that makes Ted Wong, watching from the doorway, take a half step forward involuntarily. David's arm does not follow Bruce's movement. It anticipates it. By a fraction of a second, perhaps 80 milliseconds, David is already in the correct responsive position before Bruce's arm arrives there. Bruce stops. He says, "Do that again." He moves his arm in a different pattern. David anticipates again. Not perfectly. He misreads one movement in 3, overcorrecting on the vertical plane. But the fundamental phenomenon is there, consistent, unmistakable. What David is doing, Bruce will explain to Dr. Yuen after the session, is reading micromuscular telegraphing, the minute preparatory tensioning of muscles that precedes any intentional movement by approximately 100 to 150 milliseconds. Sighted practitioners learn to ignore this signal because they have visual information they consider more reliable. David has been reading this signal his entire life. In every physical interaction he has had with the world, he does not have a name for it. He does not know it is unusual. It is simply how he moves through space. That's not compensation. That's mastery of a channel that most people never open. And then the crowd went still. In the 68th minute of the session, Bruce holds up the focus mid at shoulder height and describes, verbally and precisely, its exact position. My left hand, 43 inches from the ground, 12 inches in front of my left shoulder. The striking surface faces you. He says, "Hit it." David adjusts his stance. He does not hesitate. He is past the point of hesitation now. He reads the air, reads the residual warmth of Bruce's body at 5 feet, reads the micro sound of Bruce's weight shifting into the braced position of someone holding a target. And he throws the punch. It arrives. Not approximately. Not in the general vicinity. The first 2 knuckles of David's right hand contact the center of the focus mid with enough force that the impact sound, a clean, compact snap, reaches the back wall and returns. Bruce holds the mitt perfectly still. He does not say anything. 3 seconds of absolute silence in the room. Then Bruce lowers the mitt and turns to the 3 observers in the doorway and says, quietly, "He found it." 47 sessions would follow over the next 4 months, but nothing in any of them would carry the weight of this one. After Ted Wong and James Lee step out, Bruce and David and Dr. Yuen remain in the training area. David is sitting cross-legged on the concrete, shoes off, back straight, the posture of a boy who has been told, somewhere along the way, that good posture is something you can feel without being reminded. Dr. Yuen asks Bruce what technique he used to achieve what she just observed. Bruce is quiet for a moment. Then he says, "I didn't use technique. I used a different question. She asks what question. He says, most people teach by telling a student what they cannot do yet, and then building toward it. I asked what he already does that nobody has named yet, and then gave it a name. David, listening, says, what's the name? Bruce says, in Wing Chun, the listening hand is called Chiso, but what you have is bigger than that. You listen with your whole body. I don't have a name for that yet. Maybe you should name it. David is quiet for a moment. Then he says, very seriously, I'll think about it. Dr. Yuen will write later. I expected Bruce Lee to be impressive physically. I did not expect him to be one of the most sophisticated educational intuitionists I have ever encountered. He had, in 2 days, reconstructed an entire pedagogical approach from first principles. He threw out everything conventional instruction assumes and replaced it with the single question, what does this specific person already understand? And how do I build from there? That is not a martial arts insight. That is a general theory of human learning. Bruce stays with David until Henry Chin arrives to walk him to the bus stop. Before David leaves, Bruce puts one hand briefly on his shoulder. Not a pat, a placement. The specific contact of someone communicating something through the gesture rather than around it. He says, next week, we start the footwork. The punch was the easy part. David grins for the first time all afternoon. It is a 12-year-old's grin, full and unguarded and briefly unserious, in a way that nothing else in the afternoon has been. He says, I know. I could feel you laughing at my feet the whole time. Bruce laughs. A real laugh, short and genuine. Henry Chin, standing at the door, is not laughing. He is holding his son's canvas bag and watching his boy walk toward him. And his expression is the expression of a man receiving something he asked for without quite believing it would arrive. That's not a lesson. That's a restoration. Years later, specifically, in 1988, 22 years after that Friday afternoon, a martial arts instructor named David Chin opens a small teaching studio in the Fruitvale district of Oakland. The studio is called Awareness School of Martial Arts. It operates, in its first year, out of a room approximately the same size as the back training area of the old June Fan Institute on Broadway. David Chin is 34 years old. He is still blind. He teaches Gung Fu. He has been teaching it, in various forms, since 1974. His students range in age from 8 to 61. A significant proportion of them have sensory or physical disabilities. But not all of them, because David does not teach disability-adapted martial arts. He teaches martial arts with the specific philosophical framework he developed over 47 sessions with Bruce Lee between September 1966 and January 1967. His foundational teaching principle, which he explains to every new student in the first session, is this. The eyes are the last thing to trust. Your body already knows. We are here to teach you to listen to what it knows. His students carry this forward. Their students carry it further. There is no record of a camera being present on September 9th, 1966. No photograph, no film, no audio recording. The three witnesses, James Lee, Ted Wong, and Dr. Patricia Yuen, all provided written or recorded accounts before their deaths, and those accounts are the only documentation of what happened in that room. Dr. Yuen's 1989 essay, James Lee's recorded interview from 1971, Ted Wong's unpublished memoir fragment. These are the archive, which means that most of the world has never known. Return to the opening image. A boy, 84 pounds, barefoot on concrete, blind since 4 years old, throwing a punch at a target he cannot see. A man in a gray t-shirt lowering the mitt and turning to the doorway. He found it. Not the target. Not the technique. He found the thing Bruce Lee spent his entire adult life trying to name. The understanding that arrives before the form. The awareness that lives in the body before the mind gives it permission to act. One child. One question. One principle that has never stopped teaching. Be water, yes. But first, be still enough to hear what the water already knows. 47 sessions. One boy. A lineage of students who learn to trust their bodies before their eyes. And there's one other name in David Chin's first student notebook from 1966. A name written in Bruce Lee's own handwriting at the top of a page of training notes, with a single line underneath it, that neither David nor anyone who has seen the notebook has ever been able to fully explain. What that name means, and why Bruce wrote it there instead of his own, that's a story for another time.